Welcome to another conversation with Micah B. I'm super excited today because we have an amazing guest, someone who I'm a huge fan of. So this is going to be a fun conversation for me. So we're going to get right into the intro, okay? Today's guest is somebody who has consistently challenged what freedom, masculinity, and self expression can look like in public. Keiynan Lonsdale is an actor, musician, and creative known for standout roles in The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Love Simon, Love Victor, and Divergent, with many others, while also building a music career rooted in vulnerability, emotion, and authenticity. From playing Kid Flash in one of television's biggest superhero universes to becoming an important voice in queer representation on screen, Keiynan has never been afraid to evolve publicly and choose himself out loud. Today, we are talking about identity, reinvention, fame, freedom, and what it really costs to be yourself in front of the world. Y'all give it up for Keiynan Lonsdale and welcome to another conversation. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing wonderful. I really appreciate you having me today. Thank you for
Oh, we
the
appreciate
intro.
We appreciate you being here. Real
Yeah.
quick, off rip, let the audience know where you're from because you have an accent, and on the in your roles for the people who follow
Mm.
you, they might not know that.
I trick the peoples.
You
I get
trick the
paid to
peoples.
trick the people. No, I grew up in Western Sydney in Australia, and I'm of Nigerian and Irish, Danish, touch of Scottish in there. Descent. So yeah, but my accent is like all from Australia. It's definitely calmed down because I lived in America for so long and I obviously portray so many Americans. So yeah.
Mhm. Awesome. And we'll get into that later about, learning the accents and all of that. But I want to get right into it. Icebreaker that we always do here is we do a Mount Rushmore, right? I give a topic and my guest lets me know who's on their Mount Rushmore. And I thought it would be apropos to do Mount Rushmore with you and do the Mount Rushmore for Black superheroes or comic book heroes. Who's your four?
Green Lantern. I love that I've gotten to play a black superhero myself with Wally West. I think it was the New 52 that he was introduced um, as black for the first time. I believe so. Uh, Black Lightning, Aqualad.
Yes.
Aqualad. Also, because I'm not a swimmer, you see. So
Okay.
Aqualad may be up top, so I can get that super like strength in that regard. I
Okay.
would
I like that.
really that, yeah.
I like that. So we said Aqualad, Green Lantern, Wally West, Black Lightning.
Hmm.
That's a solid list.
Who are your four?
My four would be Wally West for sure. I would
That's,
throw in Black, like no. I actually would have thrown it would be Wally West, Static Shock,
oh, okay.
Storm,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Shit.
and John Stewart, Green Lantern.
Okay.
Yes.
Storm may have been probably the first black superhero that I would have been wanting to emulate because like it's all in the hands. I feel like for
Mm,
me, my favorite superpowers and superheroes are the ones that like with their hands they're just able to conjure and control.
that makes sense.
And just the energy, like the meditation of her crafts, her eyes. Like so
Mhm.
yeah, she definitely might be up there as number one.
I agree. That's good. Okay, so one more follow up to this as we're talking about black superheroes. Um, where do I want to go? So yeah, so so we've seen Wally West on this on the small screen. We've seen Black Lightning on the small screen. We've seen different characters on the big screen. What comic book character, what black comic book character do you feel needs another story? Whether it's a live action film, live action series, who would you like to see highlighted?
To be completely real with you, I am obviously biased, but I am very curious to know where Wally is at
Mm,
once he's been on his journey of self discovery and stripping himself back beyond his powers. He's gone over to the East. He's been practicing Buddhism and, like, you know, to me, as a fan of the character and where we took his story in the show, which in some ways was like emulating my own life. I wasn't studying Buddhism or anything, but I was like, at the time, I remember before they wrote it, I head over to the East. I was like, I need to go like on this spiritual journey. Next minute, Wally was on this spiritual journey over in the
and that's
East.
awesome. Are
But yeah,
imitators
I
like?
genuinely, I'm fascinated with that journey of like who he's become and who he's becoming in terms of, growing into himself as a man. And if he's able to find peace,
Mm.
what he learns from those practices over there, the convergence of cultures. So if I had it my way, that is actually, I would be most interested in seeing that story play out.
I'm for that. That would be fun. That would be fun. If y'all are watching, let us know in the comments who is on your Mount Rushmore for Black superheroes and Black comic book heroes. All right. So we're gonna get into kind of just getting to know you a little bit more. Okay. Um, Tell me a little bit about your upbringing in Australia. Was acting something and singing, as you sing as well, was that something that you always wanted to do, or is that something that you kind of just fell into?
I think I didn't always want to be an actor. I didn't know that that was an option for me. So
Hmm.
I was never going for it. I loved watching movies. I loved cartoons. I loved anime. I loved acting out the characters I obsessed over with in video games that I played, and that's where I developed probably like learning how to do the American accent and stuff.
Mm.
So yeah, it wasn't that conscious. It was a bit more pure. I love to impersonate people I'd meet, out and about, and it was just fun for me. Music, I was always obsessed with music, and always had a deep passion to be as close to music as possible.
Mm.
And for me, that started with dancing, especially because I wasn't confident speaking, so, or communicating in any other way, or even often, you know, looking at others in the eye. So for me, dancing was the safest space, and it was just so fun. I ended up going on stage every weekend since I was like 5 years old, and I struggled to make friends or like to look people in the eye, but I didn't mind jumping on the stage and just like going crazy. And then eventually that obsession with music, it really was just me wanting to get closer and closer to it. So I started to like almost like DJ with the cassette tapes and
Mm.
design my own performances. And then I transferred eventually to the computer, started editing in that way. And then I was like, okay, I really like poetry. I love music. Why don't I try to actually like start writing songs and teach myself how to sing and get into that bag a bit more. So yeah, that was the beginnings.
So you always had that background. Well, you dance was something that you always enjoyed doing. Is that how you booked your first, like your regular role, right? Which was in the series Dance Academy. Is that how
Yeah.
that got booked?
Yeah, absolutely. My whole school, my whole dance high school had auditioned for the first season.
Mm-hmm.
I was tied up contractually in a pop group at the time with Nickelodeon in Australia.
Oh
So I
wow,
wasn't allowed to audition. Yeah, I was the rapper. I wasn't allowed to audition
that's
for,
funny.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I couldn't audition for the show. Everyone else in my school was going. I was like, man, this feels like right up my alley. But by the time it was coming around for the second season, I was out of my contract with the group, and I knew they were looking for dancers. The first audition was a big dance call for ballet, and I'd been training my whole life, so I wasn't a ballet dancer, but I could definitely you know impress in an audition space.
Right.
And then they just wanted to see a bit of our personality for us to like tell some stories. By that point, I was fairly confident in dance containers. And then they called us in for some acting rounds. And yeah, it went from there. Originally, they wanted me to go for like this football player character. This They said all round typical Australian guy, and then eventually the feedback was that I wasn't quite that. Which I remember thinking at the brief, like I know what they're looking for when they say all round Australian guy, you know. And at the time in Australia, it wasn't me. But what ended up happening was they ended up writing and creating a role for me because they were excited about having me on the show and eventually developed the character of Ollie. And I was really blessed because I absolutely dreamed to be on that show as soon as I knew of its existence.
Mm, that's awesome. Getting, that your world started aligning. It seems like.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was great to have that safety, that home of dance while stepping into a new field.
So, after doing a little bit of research, I saw there was some overlap between Dance Academy and you booking Divergent. How did that happen? The booking of Divergent.
Mm, it wasn't an overlap with the series itself, but
Okay.
I think after I had done the Divergent films, we'd come back and done a movie for Dance Academy. So I think
Okay.
timeline wise, maybe that's what happened. But basically, at the end of shooting the show of Dance Academy, the cast, we were like, what are we going to do next? Everyone was saying they were going to come over to America for this thing called pilot season. I was
Hmm.
like, what's that? They were like, it's where there's like 3 auditions a week instead of 3 auditions a year out here. And I was like, I like those odds. That sounds way better than like trying to like nail, these slim chances here. And so I just followed everyone else. Like they came out here, I was like, let's go. So it came out the rude awakening of like how nerve-wracking it would be, how difficult it was in the beginning, the competitiveness, but also the excitement,
Hmm.
Um, it definitely lit a fire under us. I lost, like, I parted ways with my Australian team. Like, I had a big fallout with my manager at the time and the Americans that had brought me on. So after like 3 weeks of being out in America, I was just dropped. I had no one.
Cool.
And so I was like, oh well, shit. I mean, at least I got music. So I just focused on music. And then I ended up, having a whole moment with that in New York. And then went back to Australia, was working as a dance teacher, trying to save money, was also working at MTV as an MTV VJ.
That's
Uh,
dope.
yeah, thank you. And then, it was time for the next year for another pilot season. I ended up being connected to a new team in Australia. They connected me with a new team in America who really believed in me. And belief is, as we know, is going to take most teams a very long way. And I just felt that belief. And I was like to them, I was like, no, 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 I'm going over here. I'm going to do New York. I'm going to do music. And they were like, we really think that something's going to pop off for you in America. The feedback we're getting on your tapes is very strong. And I didn't believe them, I think, because I was
Mm.
just hurt about what had happened the prior year. And I didn't think of myself much as an actor. I just thought I got Dance Academy because I was a dancer and I was lucky. That's what I thought.
Okay.
And then the next thing I booked was the Divergent series.
Which is pretty major.
And they, yeah, like it was crazy. I was teaching a dance routine to this school called Brent Street. They have a full-time course. It's one of the biggest dance schools in the country. And I was a hip hop teacher. I was teaching them this routine based on the Divergent film, the original one,
Hmm.
because I was inspired by the storyline, the factions of it all, and I thought you can make a
Yeah.
cool dance like that. And yeah, so I started building out the dance, um, and then I ended up booking the role, and I had to leave and let them know like I can't. Someone else is gonna have to take over this routine because I'm gonna go do the movie for the for the dance.
That's pretty amazing.
It was like they didn't believe me. They was just like, "You're kid. There's no way." I'm like, "I know. I don't believe it either, but it's happening." Like I'm going.
What was it like, when the movie came out and just seeing you on the big screen like that? I bet that felt pretty good, all your years of hard work, and especially after the previous season of you having disappointment. What was that moment like when you first saw yourself on the big screen?
It was so beyond surreal, and I felt so grateful, and it was special to share those moments with my family. I had my mom with me for a lot of the premieres, if not all of
Hmm.
them. And one of the premieres they had in the same movie theater in Sydney that I worked out of and cleaned the toilets and bathrooms and theaters and sold the candy from. Like I had two movies that were side by side in posters
Oh
in my
wow,
movie theater. So none of that was like, taken lightly for me. I just appreciated it all. It felt like, yeah, these unexpected dreams have come true. I'd worked hard my whole life, and my friends were so supportive and excited for me. I was very young too, so it was like there's just so many stars in my eyes, and like just a very, very beautiful, heightened, but very pure time for me, you know.
that's beautiful. I can
Mm.
only imagine.
Yeah.
So we're gonna shift a little bit, but before we do, we're gonna do another icebreaker. Let the audience know you a little bit. And this is something that we do, and it's called this or that. I'm gonna give you two things. You tell me which one it is. Okay? Pretty simple.
You say it's simple, but I'm a very like I usually try to grab both of everything.
Okay, I feel that. I feel that. So this should be fun then. Okay.
Let's go.
So, do you want the lover boy, or do you want the city boy?
I have to I'd have to say like the lover boy. But now I'm realizing as you put these two side by side that like I've never heard of them being joined together. Like
Mhm.
you're saying you can't be a lover boy in the city?
Well, when I say city boy, I mean more so like the city girls. So, you know, the guy who just wants to have fun and have a good time. And that's it.
Oh, okay, yeah. And how do you see lover boy?
A lover boy is someone who's putting in the time, putting in the effort, putting in the work, all of
Mm.
those things.
I almost wore a shirt that said lover boy today.
That would have been cool.
That's funny. Yeah, I go with lover boy.
Okay.
Mhm.
Would you rather have fame or freedom?
Freedom.
All right. Which one is more helpful? Therapy or disappearing for a few days?
Oh, it depends.
Okay.
It
I agree.
depends. This week it's therapy, yeah,
Yeah.
but but for a while sometimes it's just disappearing. Like sometimes you can figure it out. Just yeah, but yeah, I mean disappearing can be therapy.
Disappearing can be therapy. I like
Uh-huh.
that. Beyonce or Prince?
Uh, okay. Fuck. For me, it is Beyonce. I've been able to see Beyonce live,
Mhm.
and I never got to see Prince live.
Right.
And I didn't appreciate Prince the same way until later on in my life, whereas Beyonce circled my orbit more in my household from the beginning of
Yeah.
me dancing and listening to music. I mean, we definitely had Prince. I was definitely like on Purple Rain constantly, but yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's a good answer. I like that answer. All right. Do you
How
go for
dare
the
you for
face?
that one? How dare you do that one for me?
That was a tough one. That was a tough. All right. So, are you going for the face card or the body? Which one are you attracted to more, the face card or the body?
It's got to be face card first.
Okay, because that's what you see first, unless they're shirtless or something.
It's just like I like a lot of different kinds of bodies, you know.
Mm,
For me, if I'm just going body first, it's because I'm just looking for one particular thing, you
okay.
know. Like I'll ignore whatever else is going on because I'm just, you know. But in general, what I'm overall attracted to, face is going to pull me in first.
Okay. Toxic chemistry or emotional safety?
Emotional safety. Now,
Amen.
yeah.
Now, but at one point it was toxic chemistry, I'm sure, right?
I mean, a majority
Yeah,
of points. Yeah,
yeah, we've all been there.
yeah,
We've all been there.
yeah.
Um, would you rather go to Fashion Week for the week or spend the week at a spend a week at a cabin in the woods somewhere?
I would rather. It depends who I'm with.
Mm,
Yeah. I mean, my nervous system is gonna be way more chill in the cabin in the woods. Yeah. Um, but if I have the right outfits and if I'm going to the right shows, send me to Fashion Week.
okay,
Yeah.
I like
If
that.
yeah.
And last but not least, do you text back quickly or do you get to them when you get to them?
I get to folks when I can get to folks. Sometimes it's quick, usually it's not. I'm not a nah. I'm an
You're a busy
incons
man.
yeah. Yeah. Gotta be present off the phone. Um, yeah. But
Okay.
I never like don't reply to people on purpose. Like I don't like try to hold off replies. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you just the day gets away from you and then you forget. So we're going to talk about. We just talked about: are we texting quickly? Are we not texting quickly? Texting back quickly. So speaking of quickly, we're going to transition into a role that I actually discovered you with and became a fan of your work with, and that was Kid Flash on the CW hit series The Flash. Um, let's first talk about booking that role.
Mm.
How did that come about, and how did that feel to be on one of the major Arrowverse shows during that time?
Again, very surreal. I was auditioning for Legends of Tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
and I went in for that role. The feedback was that I wasn't right for that role, but they wanted to see me for a show called The Flash. They asked if I had seen it. And I'm like, I just been binging the entire season so I could prepare for Legends because Legends wasn't out yet.
What role was, if you can say, what role was Legends?
Firestorm.
That was Dominic Purcell's character, or was that Wentworth Miller's character?
No,
Oh,
Dom,
neither. That
no,
was
our British brother. Like, I can't believe I'm forgetting because we haven't seen each other in a good 10 years.
Firestorm. I think I know which character that was. I can't remember which character that was, but I think was that Caitlin Stark's.
No, no,
That
no, no,
was
no,
her. That was not her boyfriend, right?
no, 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 no. France.
Okay,
France from A.
Firestorm. Okay, so you were going out for Firestorm. They didn't think
And
that you were good.
actually, we have the same color scheme of outfits. It's the red and yellow, which is crazy now that I
I
think of
know
it.
now. Yes. Okay.
Um, And so I was going for Firestorm. Then they were like, "There's this role on this show called The Flash. Do you know it?" I'm like, "Yes, I've been obsessed with it."
Okay.
And then they said, "You're actually going to be auditioning against yourself. They're not meant to bring this role in yet for a couple of seasons. So they just want to see and test, so they can take this test to the studio and see if the studio will agree to bringing you on early." And yeah, so the process was me coming in over and over a few months. And the final one, I got to audition with Candace Patton. And at the time, they framed us in the scenes as cousins. So I thought I was playing her cousin. I didn't know that I was going to be playing her brother.
Okay.
They kept that a secret. uh, and yeah, I just remember being in there with the producers, and at one point, I was like, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I was like, I love this show. they, they were like, okay. I said, like, I'm a big nerd for this show. I can't tell you how like I've lit up from it, and it's very surreal that like you guys want to see me here. But I just think it's one of the more special shows I've seen. There's something about it, and I remember walking away thinking like that was stupid. I shouldn't have said anything. I've come across like too much of a fan, and I actually think when I look back at it, like that there was a purity there, and they could tell that I really was drawn into the show for a reason.
Hmm.
And it was just truth. There was this strange connection that I had with it when I saw it. Like I remember just feeling like I wish I could be in that world. And that's what happened. It was again one of the more surreal things of my life.
That's beautiful. What are some things you might have taken away from working with like legends, no pun intended, like Ed Kavanaugh, Tom Cavanaugh, Jesse L. Martin. What was that like?
It was grounding. They're both very different performers, and that was important for me to see. When you're watching, you're it's easy when you're younger, you're very impressionable. So I was really
Mhm.
studying how they are on camera, off camera. How do they advocate for themselves? They're at ease so much more than we are. Like things aren't a drama to them the same way, but like they take care of things in a different way. Like, you know, and they just, yeah, they inspired me a lot. They were playful. They were very playful, and it was comforting to have these more experienced actors with us. Jesse in particular is who I had majority of my scenes with
Mhm.
in the more in-depth family way. So there were a lot of stakes there, a lot of emotional depth. Whereas Tom and I's scenes were a lot more playful and got me to break out of my shell a little bit, you know. So they both held different they both offered me different tools. But yeah, like Jesse and I are still super close, and I learn a lot from him, and he taught me a lot over the years. He definitely is one of my bigger in-person influences.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, so The Flash, you were a wildly popular character on The Flash from the moment you popped up and throughout your tenure. But then we started seeing less and less and less of Wally West. On social media, people was calling out the CW. They're like, "Where's Wally? Where's Wally? Where's where's Wally?" Um, let's talk about when you decided to lead the Flash and Legends full time. Um, you made a long post about your reasons why you were in a place where you felt like stepping away was something that you had to do. Was that a scary feeling? Because some people would think that you were in a role that was pretty nice, and you could really build off of it, and maybe continue to be Wally West throughout the universe. Talk to me about what made you leave and how that felt leaving something that was so nice. At least on the outside, looked like it was so nice.
Hmm. It was eventually eventually it was an easy decision because I knew it was the right one. I knew I'd be
Okay.
disappointing a lot of people, but for me, it got to the stage where, you know, I started to care about my experience as a person. And I had always put my experience as a person behind my experience as a performer, my
Mm,
priorities in my career. And, I thought about it and I was like, I want a long career, I want a long life. And for me, the way that I was processing the show uh, on set and some of the dynamics, it wasn't healthy for me to stay.
okay.
And I felt like I'm going to be a better person by going and I'm going to be a healthier person and I have to do it. And it's a risk because of this is a dream job.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, like no one knows what you go through aside from the people you go through it with. And it's it's what I had to do. Of course, I'll always look back because I love the character and I will always be curious about where that could have gone.
okay.
However, I really love the person that I am today and the decisions that I had to make along the way to shape who I am and how I show up in the world, not as a performer or as a celebrity but as a just as a human being. Like I like the guy that I am
Yeah.
and I needed to make decisions based on that and trust and hope that the foundations I would be building upon with my career would be okay, and that if I was making mistakes, I'd have to make them, and I'd have to grow, and if it was gonna slow shit down, I have to deal with that, you know, but stay true to what feels right.
That's important, is staying true to yourself. So you kind of briefly kind of hit on it, but was there after you were gone from the show, was there any like grief or regret at all, or were you kind of solidified in your decision?
I was solidified. I,
Okay.
I was solidified, it also happened to be at the time when I was, like, giving myself a lot of freedom and, I had opened up in terms of my sexuality and I was
Hmm.
living for myself for the first time and I was uncovering a lot of different shit. Yeah, and I yeah, so I didn't regret it. I think, you know, maybe after I turned 30 and I started to think about things a bit more logically,
Hmm.
and you look back and you go, "Couldn't you just, if you just on paper hold out in these ways and stick through this and then like set up this structure for you to do this over here and do that, you know but things aren't always logical, and I definitely had my team and people that wanted to guide me to stay, and but everyone also understood my reasons as well. So yeah, there wasn't really a regret. It's just something that was amazing that I got to be a part of, and I'm definitely open to being able to step into those shoes again one day if that's what the universe calls for. But yeah, and I suppose I also like the mystery of Wally.
Yeah. So where is Wally now? That thought process. What happened to Wally? Some things is better. You don't have to wrap up all as a fan of something, you don't always have to have all of the answers given to you, all of the questions answered. It's good to come up with your own conclusion as to what happened to your favorite characters you like to watch.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said too about the choice that they made in that the writers went with him, which is that he similarly said, I'm taking, like, I'm stepping away from my superhero mantle and I'm going on this path to determine like what kind of person I am without all of this, without all these powers and without these um extra pieces to the puzzle. He wanted to strip it all back, and like that's his journey. So we went on
Similar
similar.
journeys.
Yeah,
So part of that journey that you went on was, coming out. So when you first had come out publicly, or you had tweet, it was either a tweet or a post where you like, I like girls and guys.
Instagram
Um, It was Instagram. Okay.
on the brain.
Um, Two questions, a twofold question. One, what made you just get up one day and post that? And two, did you feel pressure because later on, you came out as gay? Did you feel pressure to kind of, you know, say that you like girls and guys first? Because I know a lot of people when we come out, there's like this pressure, or it's like, well, if I say I'm bisexual, that'll soften the blow a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that was unconscious. I
Hmm.
wasn't pressured to do that. I did have an agent at the time that I don't work with, and they were like, "Oh, that was a really smart move to frame it like that." And I was like, "I wasn't trying to." Man, you're
Okay.
like, because there's so many people that think about things in that way, and maybe
Hmm.
it was my naivete, but I went through a lot of my career not doing things because of they were not calculated. They were of the moment pure. My soul needed to do it, and you know, maybe I'm not as uh what's the word, as impulsive as I
Okay.
have in the past. But yeah, I always find it funny when people are able to calculate certain like deep moments about themselves like that. I think that's incredibly difficult, near impossible. So I think subconsciously, yes, there was a pressure. I thought it would soften the blow, but it was also truth to me too, in the way that like I had dated women and I'd always still been attracted to women. I
Okay.
still am. Um, I I suppose I could still go by bisexual, but I don't engage with women really,
Okay.
like, and for me, my attraction to men is typically a lot stronger.
Yeah.
I haven't felt it's fair to engage in a relationship, a romantic relationship with a woman in a long time, but it's not something that I'm closed off to.
Against.
Yeah, I'm not against it. Like if the feelings are there and I feel like I can actually honor this relationship and we accept each other for like understands who I am and 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 what I am and what my sexuality is, and we hold space for who we really are.
Hmm.
I mean, love is love, so
Yeah.
it's there.
So, real quick, because one of the, I like to dispel and debunk, um, you leaving the Flash or your character getting less time on screen had nothing to do with you coming out, did it?
No.
Okay. Okay. Because, the message boards and the the comments in the comment section on Instagram, that's what the people were saying.
No, it didn't. It didn't. And if it did, I would talk about that, especially at that
Okay.
time. I would have been like, "Ah,"
Right.
I wouldn't have kept my mouth shut. No, it wasn't that. To be honest, in my memory of it, I chose to step away. We transitioned me over to Legends for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and then I fully stepped away.
Okay.
So it was a conversation that was always being had. I don't know. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't to do with sexuality, and it. I don't think it was something that was a targeted thing. A lot of a lot of conversation.
Okay. A lot of conversations that led up to all of that. So with you, embracing your sexuality, did that change anything from you from an acting standpoint? Did it change anything from you for you as, what roles you were offered or what roles uh, casting directors said that they saw believable for you? Did it shift anything at all?
At first, because I was being so experimental with fashion and with my own,
The hair, I remember when you posted like the green hair. Was it
I
green
didn't
or pink? Yes.
pink, blonde, purple, red,
Yeah.
rainbow. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and dresses. I was like, whoa, I'm not afraid to wear a dress. I'm not afraid to wear anything. Like, I just want to try everything and honor that the little boy that I was that didn't feel that courage to do so. So
Hmm.
I was on that journey. I definitely started to see roles come in, and they were trying to have me go for a lot of trans roles, and I said no to them all because I was like, I'm not, guys, I'm not trans. Uh,
Okay.
so I'm not a trans actor. Um, and I think at the time the industry hadn't caught on with how to act. And they were just thinking, well, you wear dresses and you do this and you do that. So
Right.
that's just, and so I'm I'm glad for me because there's plenty of other people out there to honor those roles that yeah, I didn't take those on, and I just kind of had to keep reminding people, but I didn't feel like a blockage, and I think looking back at my career since then, I've been able to continue to play with more masculine roles, more feminine roles. Like it's it's been beautiful to dispel that.
Yeah. I mean, you just did War Machine, and that was,
That
oh
was
man,
fun.
yeah. It looked like it was a lot of fun. We'll get to that a little bit, but so Wally, to tie it both, tie it together, between Wally, being representation for young black boys, and then the role that we're going to talk about next, like your roles in Love Simon and Love Victor, more LGBTQ representation. Is that something that's important to you when booking roles, or the type of roles that you want to play, being somebody who can be looked up to, or is that just kind of been the luck of the dice?
I didn't choose Love Simon for that reason.
Okay.
'Cause I was still in the closet and I wasn't planning on coming out. But I knew it was a beautiful role.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just destined, and it wasn't until after I came out that I became more conscious and I allowed myself to be a role model in that way. Um, it felt like it was sort of being placed on me, and I accepted it for a particular amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm definitely conscious of any role that I do, straight, gay, whatever, like of the impact it can have on people that look like us or people that don't know that they can play those roles or that those roles can exist the way that they do.
Mm-hmm.
So I love being able to shine a light on truth.
Mm-hmm.
Part of why I love acting and embodying anything with presence. So it does mean a lot to me to be able to help empower communities the communities that I'm from, and it feels like a two-way street.
Mm. What did Bram is your character? Um what do you think what was the importance of Bram's character, and why do you think so many people within the queer community, why do you think Bram was so popular, and why so many people connected with that role?
I can only say that I think no one's ever asked me that question.
Okay.
um, I think Greg, our director, did a beautiful job at keeping the performances particular,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't always, I won't speak for the rest of my cast, but I didn't always know what was happening. I didn't always, I was trying different things, and it wasn't until really I saw the edit and how it all came together that I understood why I was put, why, in a particular place tonally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he knew what he was doing with each of those characters. So I think, people could identify in each of the characters. And in terms of Bram, I really lived that fear. I lived that like deep insecurity about who I was. And if to be able to overcome that fear, to be able to have that like almost Disney moment,
Mm-hmm.
is what it was giving.
Yes. Cue the music in the background.
Cue the Ferris wheel. It was like a dream come true. It was a dream you didn't know you were allowed to dream, or that you had thought you had to dream in quiet or in the dark. And like, so yeah, I think it just touched the souls of so many people and all ages. And because specifically there wasn't a movie of that scale, even though it was a lower budget film, but it was distributed very well on a large
Yeah.
scale. It was such a commercial success, and it was laced with, like, it was very marketable, and you couldn't say no to this film, even though definitely there were a lot of cinemas that did in a couple countries. But eventually, it was just too pure.
Mm-hmm.
It was too true and too pure, and it was like touched on the most, like the light of a lot of people's shame and fear. It touched on the light of
Mm-hmm.
it, and I think everyone was drawn into that.
Real quickly before we shift a little bit and get into the music and all of those beautiful things that you're doing, um, so you were talking about how Love Simon you weren't out yet. Um, did playing this character kind of help you on your own journey of really unpacking and getting to a point where you wanted to come out?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'd been doing years of therapy before that. I had a
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend while I was shooting Love,
Okay.
Simon. We broke up the night before the Ferris wheel kissing scene.
Oh wow. So that must have been tough.
It was tough. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hadn't slept. It was like, and yeah, he broke up with me, and
Oh.
our relationship was only known by our friends. So like, it wasn't until the after party of filming that I told the rest of the cast what was going on. Um, yeah, so there was a lot that led up to it, but definitely being on that set, playing that role, understanding that this whole set is here to honor this beautiful gay love story. And our director is gay, and his fiance is there, and their child is there, and everyone's
Mhm.
okay with this. So it was my brain, it was like, deprogramming, unlearning so many things, and just like dispelling all these myths and rumors of like, you can't make it, you won't be accepted unless. And I was just
Mhm.
like, that's just simply not true. I can see the truth is right here. And I also felt a level of guilt role, and then still lying. The role, the journey is about
Mhm.
telling the truth and that I was still lying myself.
Wow. That's
So I,
deep.
yeah, I was just like, okay, I see what's happening here. You know, if God, if the universe is talking, it's pretty loud.
Mhm. Yeah, everything was lining up for you to, do that, and then just find peace. I came out a little later, but it was just like in my 30s, and it was more.
Mm,
It's no point, because you're already secretly dating people and being in relationships and all of that, and you're
mm,
only doing a disservice to yourself and a disservice to the person that you're with, and even the disservice to your loved ones when you're not, showing up as yourself 100% with full transparency and authenticity. So that's a beautiful thing once you get to that point where you don't care what anybody else says.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
So
You worded it perfectly.
yeah. So let's get it before we get out of here. I want to talk about your music. We already know how you give it up on in film and in television, an amazing actor, but you have really, really good music. I've been
Thank you.
diving into it. Looking forward to the next project coming up. Talk to me about your music. What do you love more? Or do you love them both equally? This or that part too. Like, is it the music? Is it the movies? And just talk about the space that you're in right now, where you're really focused and dedicated to this. Getting ready for this next project.
I'm always curious because it is the most asked question. Like, what do you love more? I'm always curious about our collective desire to decide and
Mm,
compare. And I think the love is different.
okay.
Music and dance was my first love. So dance was definitely my first love. My relationship to acting, it's like this lover that I'll deny and say, "Oh no, I'm not gonna do it anymore. I quit. It's not for me. I'm struggling over here. I can't do it." Da, 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 da. And then I see a role, and I'm like, "Oh, but I must do this role.
Yeah.
I must. I simply must do this role. My spirit, I need to do it. We got to do it. It's my job." And so the love is different. With music, it moves my soul in a different way. It releases me in a different way. So it feels better. I'll say that. It feels better because I don't know, the process for me in making music is more joyful, more cathartic. Um, but they offer it in different ways. So yeah, it's for me right now, like I'm doing both, and I feel like I finally got this like amazing harmonization to be able to balance both.
Okay.
I'm currently self-managing for the first time in my life for the music specifically.
Oh wow.
I've had music managers since I was 16, and this is the first year that I am doing it by myself, and I'm building a team, and I've got a team, of course, but like there's no manager. And so that right now I don't have a particular acting role since the past like 2 months. So
Okay.
your boy's an out of work actor right now.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know what? This is if I had a role or a job right now, I wouldn't be able to handle or take on the role of being the artist and the full manager
Mm, that's real.
in this particular stage. So yeah, like I'm going super hard. I've worked on this next album for about 4 years, maybe more, from conception and writing it to where it's at
Because
now.
your debut came out 2020, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So this one, I think the first thing I wrote with the project in mind was, the end of 2021.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. And it's just, for me, music, if I get it right, it's the culmination of being able to tell narratives visually with cinematography and scripts. It also means dancing and it also means singing. So it's just any chance where I can get to do them all.
What are some of the things that we can expect from this project? If you can let us know,
Yeah.
what can we expect, and when can we expect it?
Oh, the when. Yes. Um, the themes are definitely like it's definitely a love and heartbreak album.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, it's a guy going through a battle of mental health, to be honest. Um,
Hmm.
I'm trying to make it out of a storm, and probably in the middle of all of that, experiencing, you know, a lot of shit coming up because you're finally in real relationships and not in hiding.
Yes, because they're different. The relationships hiding versus relationships being open is completely different, and they require a lot more work and
Yeah,
attention.
and honesty because you're like committed to
Yes.
being honest, and just the amount that can come up. And so it's really somebody that's like wrestling with themselves and just trying to find peace. Uh,
Mm,
but there's also, yeah, lushness to it, and there's fantasy to it, and there's some nice sexiness to it.
okay.
It's yeah, yeah. And I'm also fascinated with masculinity. I would say
Okay.
the range of masculinity that we have, the versions of ourselves that are really avoidant versus like us coming into our vulnerability. So I feel like that was the journey that I was on, and that's
Okay. I love that you brought that up because just looking at your, when you do this different photo shoots and magazine spreads and all of that, you have a real far range where you can go into femininity to masculinity. Is that intentional? Is that intentional? Do you like intentionally say, okay, I want to show this side of me for this shoot. I want to show this side of me, or is that just how it comes about?
it's usually where I'm at the time.
Okay.
And there have been times where people have wanted to place me in dresses and wigs and this, and I'm like, I'm just not there.
Right.
Right? And they've been really disappointed. Um, and
Yes, you did the Met Gala after the Met Gala, and they want to see you in the dress all the time.
and that was probably the last time I did it, really. To be hon- like I just I mean fully like that. I definitely wore
Right.
dresses since, and I love it, but I like to choose, and I just wanted to feel like a conversation. And
Hmm.
yes, I started to feel like, or you guys are trying to decide for me.
Hmm.
So my favorite and the best is, we have conversations beforehand. Obviously, like they will study like where you're at, and they want to, the really good ones, they tune into that, and then they want to take you somewhere else. They want to have a conversation that extends beyond that. And I think for me, it's playing with masculinity. I've sh- I'd gotten to give a lot of love to my femininity in the fashion space, and I kind of
Hmm.
shunned the masculine side for a while until I realized, like, oh shit, he's there.
Yeah.
He's like, he's not uh he's not going anywhere.
Hmm.
And I tried to resist that, and that became like this internal fight. So yeah, I like to display that experience of it, really. Yeah, I think editorials and fashion is an amazing opportunity to speak to the human experience.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. So, before we get out of here, so from your time, breaking into the industry to the day, how has your idea and opinion and view and perspective of what success is changed?
It's an amazing question. It can sound stereotypical, but it really is happiness.
Hmm.
It is like, did I enjoy myself? Do I feel good with my family and right with my people? Maybe not everything is perfect, but am I showing up as the person I want to show up as? Am I getting better every day? Am I learning the lessons that I'm experiencing? That's that's the real success to me, because you can really be at the height of outward success and just one, be miserable, two, be unhealthy, and three, just be numb, like not feel
Yeah.
anything. And I realized that is not success. You know, when I was a child and coming into the industry, it is like the glamour, the lights, the height of it all, the overstimulation. You know, you see the markers of success, and you want that, the money, the attention. And yeah, I think life showed me that in a really deep way. But if you ain't right on the inside and you haven't sorted out your shit and you don't know who you are fully, um, then it can take you for a real ride. And yeah, I don't deem that as success. I deem that as like a particular journey.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So, but you know, I have to. I still argue with the, like, you know, the 5-year-old version of me is like, I need to be like the most successful entertainer on the planet. You know,
Mhm.
I'm gonna buy my mom a gold house fully made of gold. You
Right.
know? And so part of me is still like, if that house is not made of gold, like I haven't made it, you know. There's still that part of me there. And I just have to like go, it's okay. You're good.
Yeah.
Good. We're good.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So I ask this to close out every time we have another conversation with a guest. Um, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I see myself on stage. There's like drums, they're tribal. My curls are out. Not too big. What's that, nice and compact. My body is strong. I'm happy. The band is there. There's some dancers. The crowd is amazing. And we're just like celebrating joy and life and energy and empowerment and healing and rhythm. That's where I see myself in 5 years.
I like
And
that.
I see that same energy in an even more grounded way off stage in my life, and my family is with me, and my people, we're good. We're good. Yeah.
I like that. Well, I just want to thank you for coming on and talking to us, sharing with our audience a little bit more about you, about your career, about your journey. I think people are going to be able to really pull from some of the things that you talked about, especially when it just comes to being yourself and being authentic and living for you and really just having a change of perspective. I think a lot of times, due to no fault of our own, growing up in capitalistic um, societies, we forget about the small things. We forget to just take time out and just rest or just take time and be still and allow things to happen. So I thank you for coming on and sharing this. We appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to it. All of the things that you got coming up. Let the people know where they can find you.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you for having me on, for the beautiful questions and just like the beautiful space. I can be found. I like to send people to my YouTube, you know, because that's where like you got the music, the dancing,
Hmm.
the music videos are there. You know, I put out a film called Operation Heart Defense. That's all there. But you can of course catch me on Spotify, Apple, all the social medias, and it's all Keiynan Lonsdale. So, or maybe you'll catch me outside. Who knows? I'm always like running around traveling. I'm a
Okay.
solo traveler, so you'll just see me by myself on the street with a backpack.
Now,
My
do you
suit.
want people to bother you or not bother you?
If people are sweet and kind, I'm always like happy to
Okay.
engage. Yeah, like yeah, it's just, you know,
Respect.
people meeting people. Like yeah, I
Yes.
always like that. And most of the time, people are super cute.
Okay.
Yeah, a little shy, cute. Some people are so smooth with it. I'm like, man, I'm not that. I don't know how to be like that smooth when I meet someone I've seen.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard sometimes.
I'm cool with it.
All right, cool, cool, cool. Well,
Unless
once
I look
again,
distraught. If I look distraught, please leave me. Leave me be.
okay,
If I'm looking stressed, just leave me be.
no pictures then. All right, Keiynan. Well, once again, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you to the listeners. Make sure that you go ahead and tap into that YouTube over there. Make sure that you leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about the interview. We got a lot of really amazing people going to be coming on the platform in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned. Make sure that you follow another conversation with Micah B. Make sure you follow the Black Gay Agenda as well on all social media platforms. We will be back. Leave that rating and review. Leave the comments, and we will see you next time for another conversation. Peace.